Hello everyone, welcome to Sharmit. In this session, we are going to talk about another very important topic related to Angular query parameters, or you can say API query parameters. Okay, so what we are going to do, I'll show you how you can search for a particular user with the query parameters but with the user input. Okay, so far whatever examples we have discussed, there we were using the hard coded value, or we were using the buttons to change the value, right? But in project there might be some scenarios where we have to pass the values, or we have to accept the user value directly from the input field from the user. So in that case, how to write the logic? In that case, what changes we need to make in our component file to make it work? These all things we are going to discuss in this particular session. Okay, but before we proceed further with it, I would like to recommend you to please go and check out the previously released sessions first, because they all are in proper sequence and sync. So if you follow it sequentially, then it would be much more easier for you to understand the ongoing topic, because for time being we are just mainly focusing on how to use query parameters to search the user in API data. But prior to that, you should know what is HttpParams, what is other basic thing like how to call the API. So if you know at least these things, then things would be much more easier for you. Okay, and for that, what you can do, you can also refer the Sharmit digital course book, which is freely available in the description box. There you will find thousands of sessions available in both Hindi as well as English language. So without any language barrier, you can easily consume the content. And in case if you have any queries or question, you can simply reach out to me through comment section. I would be more than happy to answer all your queries there. Okay. Alright, so now let's see the output, and then we will go through the demo in detail. So here you can see we have first heading coming as Angular course by Sharmit. Second heading is the main heading, search user using query parameters. Now after that, what we have one input field where user can provide the ID and they can search it from here. So let's say I want to fetch the data for my second user. So if I put ID 2 and search, it will give me the name Erwin Howell. So basically from where it is getting the data? From the API. So this is my API. Okay, so let me remove it from here, and now you can see we have this much of data. So out of all these data, if you want to fetch a particular record, so in that case what you can do, you can simply use this query params to fetch the data. Okay, so we have just noted it down. Likewise, if I want to fetch it for first user and I search it, it will give me this name Lenny Graham. So if you look at the data for the first user, the name is Lenny Graham. Okay, that means it is working fine. Now we understand the requirement, we understand the output. Now it's time to understand the code, like what code we have implemented here. Okay, so now I'll quickly walk you through the entire source code, and we will go everything like from step by step detailed manner. So first thing is to configure your app.config.ts file. Of course, like if you are using any API call, and if you want to use API in your application, make sure that you add this provide HttpClient as, and you should import it and register it here, because if it is not imported or registered, it won't allow you to use API call in your application. So this is very important line. Okay, provide HttpClient, and it should be imported. Once it is imported, now you are good to use your application. Okay, so for that, what we will do, you can use API in your application. Okay, now after that, we know that whatever data we write for API will come under a component. So although it is not mandatory, because we also discuss about the services, right? But most of the time we keep inside a component. Okay, just for the demo purpose. Now in case if you don't know how to create component, you can run the command ng for Angular g generate c component and comp1. So when you press enter on this comp1, it will create the component for you. As you can see, we have component with name comp1, where we have 4 files: css, html, spec.ts and component.ts. So these are the 4 files that is created with just one command. Okay, now after that, what you will do, you will simply go to, because now it's time to connect this component with our main application, and for that we need a selector value. So when you look at your program, although like you will get this empty class because you created new, right, but I have already noted down the logic, that's why it is coming with a logic. So here in empty class, you can just search for the selector, okay, and just copy the selector value, which is appconf1. That's it. Okay, so just copy this value and then came out of the application and look for this app.component.ts file. Now before we use this comp1, the value, which selector value, we should import the component here. Okay, this is not that value which we copied, it is comp1 component. Okay, so you can just simply import this comp1 component. Once it is imported here, now you are good to use that selector value in your HTML file. So we will just go to this HTML, and here we will look for the code. Okay, so here you can see we have Angular course by Sharmit as a main heading. Then we have user second heading, search users using query parameters, and after that we have added the horizontal rows just to show lines properly, line break. Okay, not actually line break, but a horizontal line on a screen. And then we are using that copied value, which we copied, right, selector value, as a tag. So what basically it will do, now it will connect it with the comp1 component, and whatever data will be populated from there will be displayed here as well. Clear? Perfect. Now let's see how we have noted down the logic for API call, because this is the main part, right? So here you can see we are in comp1.component.ts file. Firstly, we have imported all the information like common module, HttpClient, HttpParams, and this is important. Okay, if it is not there, it won't allow you to call the application. Once it is added, now we will simply go to the class, and here in this class you can see we have this. Firstly, we have created this user as empty array. So whatever response we will get from the application will be stored here in this empty users, and then we will use it in our application. So this is mainly to store the output that is coming from the API. After that, we have created one constructor and private HTTP client. So whenever you want to use this HTTP client, you will use the term HTTP. After that, we have search user ID of string. That means this parameter will receive one parameter of ID, which is of type string, and that value we will use in our params. So constant params, new HttpParams, and then we are setting the ID as ID. Okay, so when this method is executed, it will receive one value, that is ID, and on the basis of that ID we will set the HttpParams, and then you can call your application the API like this .http get any, and that this is the URL params subscribe res. So whatever response it will get will be stored inside this .users. Okay, and don't get confused. In last time, like in one of the session we discussed about the service, right? So you can use that process also. So it totally depend on your requirement, but just for the demo purpose I'm making it easy. Otherwise you might get confused like why we are using service and all. So that concept we have separately already learned, so now it's time to use it here. Okay, all right, so here I'm just using it for the demo purpose. Okay, and you know the service concept, so wherever it is needed you can implement that. Now once we have captured the data, it's time to display it, and for that we will go to comp1.component.html file where we have this data. Okay, so firstly we are creating the input field. Okay, this is a part of HTML, so I'm sure you know that. So here we are just taking input value inside user ID, then we are executing one button, and through this button we are executing the method that is ID, and we are passing that user ID value. So whatever value we will pass, we will receive in this input field will be passed to this method, and according to that it will set the HttpParam value, and basis of that we will get the response in the users, and then we are iterating user of users, track user ID, and we are printing the user.name just to show the output on the screen. Clear? So let me execute it for you once and I'll show you how it works. So I hope this part is clear to all of you, and still if you have any queries or question related to that, feel free to reach out to me through comment section. I would be more than happy to answer all your queries there. Okay, so let's say if I pass here value 2 and search, so this 2 value is passed to our HttpParams, and from there it built the query of API, and then we got the response as Erwin Howell. Why? Because if you here also, if I pass ID as 2, and you will see no, not like this, we need to pass question mark ID and equal to. So you can see Erwin Howell data is there. And in case if you want to show more data, that is also fine, you can show it, but actually like I'm just showing it for the name so that you can make it clear. So yeah, that's all for today. See you in the next session. Meanwhile you can do the practice, and if you have any question, just reach out to me through comment section. I would be more than happy to answer all your queries there. So yeah, that's all for today. See you in the next session with new topics. So thank you for watching TechSharmit.